have a quorum, but we are slightly early. So I'll allow the other members an opportunity to still log in, and then we can start our meeting. But we do have a quorum, thanks. Let us just, there's still 2 minutes, and then according to my reliable time, if it's unreliable, my apologies. But let's just allow them 2 more minutes to log in. The Honorable Deputy Minister, good morning.
Morning, Chair, morning, members.
Thanks a lot, Honorable DM. We have the Civilian Secretariat. Thank you very much. We'll just do the amendments first, Honorable Groenewald has requested an apology from 11 o'clock. Is responding to questions today. So honorable members have also asked that we do business, we be business-like. We will be business-like, but do the work in detail. If you could just give us 2 minutes, it's now 1 minute, but I'll still give you, we have a quorum, DM. Let me just give the clock an opportunity. Thank you very much. Honorable members, welcome. And I think we all realize that we do have a very tight schedule.
Recording in progress.
Trying to rush the amendment bill through Parliament, but it would be really important for us to do so. And I think we could really benefit from passing the amendment bill. Honorable members, we'll take the agenda, we'll adopt the agenda, and then we'll do the apologies. Could we have the agenda, please? The 31st of August, you can go down. Honorable members, that is the agenda, the minutes. Do we have a proposal for adoption?
I move for the adoption of the agenda, Chair.
Adoption of the agenda proposed by the work. Do we have a seconder for adoption of the agenda?
I second, Chair.
The agenda is seconded. Thank you very much. Could we take the apologies now? Babalwa, apologies.
Good morning, Chairperson and members. I received an apology from the Minister. He will not be able to attend the meeting due to cabinet meeting today. So I have not yet received any apologies from the other members. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We have an apology from the Minister and Honorable Groenewald, who will be leaving at 11. Could we then, honorable members, get to the minutes of the 24th of August. Babawa, the minutes. You could, let's do the next page. Honorable members, if you had seen any corrections, additions, do you have any additions? You have read the minutes. The minutes have been read by and sent to all the members. If you have any corrections, you can, I'd like to go up again. The previous page, please. Thank you very much. Honorable members, we highlighted the certain matters which have been captured in the minutes. Do I have a proposal for the adoption of the minutes?
Chairperson,
Thank you.
before I move, I saw the draft minutes that were sent to us. I think the spelling of Deputy Minister Matali was not correct. If you can go to the attendance. I'm not sure there is. Yes, it's Matela instead of Matali.
Apologies, Deputy Minister.
With that correction, Chair, I move for the adoption.
There's a mover for the adoption. Were those correction made? Do I have a seconder for the minutes?
Shaky Mom, thank you.
Shaky Mum seconds. Thank you very much. Honorable members, the next item of the agenda will be a presentation of the corrections we made to the critical infrastructure regulations. Honorable Deputy, could you indicate if it is the chair of the Surveillance Secretariat or if you are going to do the introductions and then hand it over? Honorable Deputy Minister.
Chairperson, I have a question.
Oh, before then, Honorable Tablanche.
Chairperson, thank you. I just want to know, and I know, maybe I passed my opportunity or skipped it. Chairperson, I just want to know whether we can maybe just discuss the planned oversight visit. I just need some information on that.
Honorable Tablanche, we are consulting and also I'm speaking personally to Honorable Frolic. He has also indicated that he'll get back to me. I will then bring the proposed agenda to you or circulate it to you before we do the political application. We want that strat plan quite urgently. The management committee is meeting this week, and that would be the whip and the chair and the staff. So the plans are well underway. We are waiting for approval for us to submit that approval. Before we even submit it, if you interact with the House Chair and the Chief Whip, it makes your application much easier. We know that there's a sense of urgency. Please be assured that there is also a sense of urgency from the side of the Chair and the Whip. Honorable Tablanche, the exact dates will be communicated to you as soon as possible. Are you happy with that?
Chairperson, now I wanted to know, obviously the last week's meeting, we had an extensive discussion about our main sort of priorities. And I can't recall that a visit to Limpopo, figured there. And I was just wondering if we have, the time and the money, whether this is the place that we should be going. I think, and that is just my submission, Chairperson, I think we have more urgent places to visit than going to Limpopo. That is just my submission. Thank you.
Honorable Tablanche, I was going to mention this at the end of our inputs. I thought that we do the input before we lose Dr. Groenewald. Those proposed oversight visits are joint oversight visits to the following provinces: was Limpopo, Northwest, Mpumalanga, Northern Cape, and Gauteng. And those requests have come from minerals. So before we do discuss it, could I take the amendments to the regulations as we had proposed? Could we do that presentation? And then once we have all the presentations, could we discuss this matter, please? Are you in agreement, Honorable Tablanche?
I agree with that, Chairperson. Thank you.
I first try to do the substantial matters before the members leave, and then we can do the administrative matters after the presentations. Agreed? Honorable members, agreed?
Agreed, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Deputy Minister, you could address the meeting now.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. I think the issue you spoke to about the regulations which we discussed last after we presented, we agreed with the discussions then, and today we are presenting a different item from what you said, Chair, unless if there's been a mistake, which is the Protection of Constitutional Democracy Against Terrorist and Related Activities Amendment Bill 2022. Because the one on critical infrastructure, we have agreed with the comments that the committee has made.
Honorable Deputy Minister, I'm totally in agreement with you, but the committee has to formally pass the amendments. So you have to show us the regulations now with the amendments. If they do not, you see that the committee made recommendations to 4 amendments last week. So in terms of procedure and the law, the committee must see those amendments which have been included and then approve it.
We'll definitely make sure that we provide that to the committee, Chair. But if you may allow, we could with the team present the POCRA data amendment bill, but definitely we will provide you that information, and then the committee can process it.
DM, could we get an indication from the Civilian Secretariat if they maybe have those amendments that should just be cited for us to adopt?
I'll request the acting secretary to come to respond to as well through you, Chair.
Yes, because their information, it's just a presentation. It was ready. Honorable Deputy Minister, I'm not trying to harass you. The information was available, and we have to adopt the committee's report and then also adopt those amendments. It's for adopting.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Chair. That's why I say we'll provide you with that information and the committee can make those adoption, which does not necessarily need us. But for now, I'll ask the secretary through you to make further comments on this. The acting secretary is on the platform, Chair, if you may allow.
Thank you, Acting Secretary. Can you just assist us before we adopt the report? Acting Secretary?
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Deputy Minister and members. Yes, we will quickly flight the document. It's just that when we came, we didn't have it ready, but we will in a few seconds. But I need also to indicate that we have also sent through to the committee the documents that indicates that the amendment have been done.
We received the document. That is why I'm asking you to flight it so that we can adopt, the committee can formally adopt those amendments. And then we will do the committee's report.
Thanks,
Your
Chairperson. We're
information is
trying to
available.
do that now.
All right, thank you. Yes, your information is available because you sent it to me.
Honorable Chairperson, are you able to see? I think it has been flighted. Thanks.
Yes, but you're starting with 9. There you are. That's what you sent to me. Sorry for harassing you. Those draft regulations, they were sent to us. You could now go down. Next, you're giving us the definitions. We've read it. Number 2, the functions. 3, the meetings. Next. Next. 4, sorry, go down 4. The special meeting of council. 5, the resolutions. 6, the resolutions of the council to dispense of property. 7, the resolutions in respect of police protocols and standards. 8, the assignment of functions by the minister. 8. Could I have 9, please? Nine, the ad hoc committees. Next, I want to see that ad hoc committees. The standing committees. Ten is the standing committees. Page 30. Page 13. The functions, the protection register. Next, the manner of service of notice. 13, commencement. I propose that it now serves before the committee so that these regulations can be published in the Government Gazette and so that the Critical Infrastructure Council can start doing its work. Committee expressed its concern that we interviewed the council last year, but they could not start their work. The vetting of the members took very long, and the regulations have been long overdue. They could not start the work without these regulations. I received several concerns by the members of the committee and the members of the Critical Infrastructure Council expressing their unhappiness and their frustration with the slow pace of progress with this regard. Honourable members, before you adopt this, could I have the committee's report for official adoption, and then the regulations and the draft regulations and the committee's report will then be put to you for adoption. May I now have the report, the committee's report for adoption? Babalwa, could you flag the committee's report? Thank you very much, Mr. Amaru. Committee report, please. Report of the Portfolio Committee on Police on the draft regulations of the Critical Infrastructure Protection Act. Those were the recommendations for additions and corrections which you have made in the committee. We saw that those additions and corrections were made. Next, the committee proposed amendments on the following regulations. A, the chairperson submitted the application to the minister for consideration, accompanied by the following A, B, C, D, E, F. We did all this has been done procedurally and legally. The committee recommends that the National Assembly approve the draft regulations of the Infrastructure Protection Act, Critical Infrastructure Protection Act. The report with the amendments will now be sent to the National Assembly. Honourable members, you have now seen the actual amendments to the regulations. You have now seen the report. It has been presented to you. We have now met all the legal requirements. Are you happy that your inputs have been considered and that we have covered the processes? Administratively, the committee has done its work. You have given your comments. Politically now, in terms of the process, it will be submitted to the National Assembly. Before I propose adoption, are there any comments you'd like to make? Questions or corrections? I note your hands. There are no hands. Could I have a proposal for the adoption of the amendments and the report? Honourable Tablanche, is your hand up?
Chairperson, yes. We reserve our rights, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you very much. DA reserves its rights. Honourable Siabi, your hand is up.
Thanks, Chair. I move for the adoption of both the report and the draft regulations.
Mover for adoption of the report and the draft regulations. Next, do we have a seconder? Do we have a seconder?
Honorable Malekwa seconding, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Malekwa seconding. Do you have any other political parties to reserve their rights?
Yes, Chairperson, I reserved our rights.
Honorable Meshu, ACDP reserves its rights. Any further political parties?
The EFF.
EFF reserves its rights. Next. Honorable Shembeni, is this you with the iPad? Is your gadget?
Yes. Yes,
All right.
yes.
So my apologies that I did not notice. I just saw iPad. I'll know that it's you. My apologies, but your gadget has not been named.
Yes.
Honorable members, we have now finally passed the regulations for the Critical Infrastructure Council. Thank you very, very much to the Civilian Secretariat. You have done very well, although it was quite late. Thank you very much, Deputy Minister, for overseeing this process. Honorable Deputy Minister, we know that you are driving the legislative frameworks and amendments in the ministry, and we do appreciate the work, the hard work of the Deputy Minister. Kindly convey to the Minister that the regulations have now been adopted. Congratulations to the members of the committee, and once it has been gazetted and approved in the National Assembly, the regulations will then be passed to the Critical Infrastructure Council. From the Secretariat, I don't know who's going to respond to this. Could you give me an indication if the vetting of all the members have now been completed? Could I have a response, if you do have a response from the Civilian Secretariat?
Good morning, Chairperson, once more. We don't have the response as this matter is being handled by State Security. We, from time to time, we have been receiving requests from them.
Sorry, Acting Secretary, Chairperson. We will follow it up and update your office by the end of business today.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. That takes care of the Critical Infrastructure Council. Honourable members, I'll respond to you on those vetting processes because a number of you have asked me about this. Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. You can now present to us the next amendment bill.
Thanks very much, Chair. Good morning once more to you and your team. And thanks for passing that piece of the regulations for the critical infrastructure. We really appreciate your leadership in this regard. I'm with the acting secretary and the team, including Brigadier van der Walt, who will be representing SAPS, but the presentation will be led by the Secretariat through the Secretary and the team, the acting Secretary and the team that he has with him. If you may allow, Chair, through you, we ask the Secretary to present.
Acting Secretary, Mr. Amaru, you may indicate if you are presenting or if someone else is presenting. We now have the Protection of Constitutional Democracy Against Terrorist and Related Activities Amendment Bill. You may
Honorable Chairperson, Advocate Yolanda Grazinga will do the presentation on our behalf.
Thank you very much. I've just seen Honorable Majosi in the meeting. Honorable Majosi, before they do the presentation, do you reserve your rights? Are you back, Honorable Majosi, so that I can welcome you formally?
Good morning, Chairperson. Yes, I'm back, Chairperson. No, you know that I would not reserve and I would go through the reports, though I was not even available at that time. But we'll check what was discussed, and then if we're presenting the consideration report, then I will put on what is it that I would think only. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Majosi. A warm welcome to you, and our sincerest congratulations to you and your family that our babies are healthy. Thank you very much as a working mom that you have returned to the committee. We wish you well, and we pray the Lord's blessing on your future and the future of your family.
Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Majosi. We missed you. And welcome back again. We will then start with a presentation.
Good morning, Honourable Chairperson. Good morning, Honourable Deputy Minister, and good morning, Honourable members of the committee. The purpose of the presentation is to introduce the Constitutional Democracy Against Terrorist and Related Activities Amendment Bill 2022. In short, I will refer to it as the Boktatara Bill, to the committee, and to provide information on the necessity and the importance of the bill as well as the contents thereof. The draft Boktatara Bill had been submitted to Parliament by the Minister of Police in terms of Joint Rule 159 on the 19th of July 2022. The bill must be dealt with in terms of Section 75 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. Next slide, please. Chair, before I go into the detail around the proposals to amend the Principal Act, I'm going to share with the committee information regarding the necessity for promoting the bill. First of these would be the developments in international law. It's very important to note and also to underline that the bill seems to be very technical in nature, but it is mainly an alignment of the Act with international requirements. Chair, then moving back to slide 3, the number of international conventions and protocols aimed at combating terrorism has increased from 12 when the Principal Act was adopted in 2004 to 19 where it stands currently. Chair, these international legal instruments have been developed under the auspices of the United Nations. And each convention or protocol provides for additional offences which must be enacted in domestic legislation to combat terrorism. Chair, should the members of the committee wish to have access to these 19 conventions, I can share the internet link where these 19 conventions can be accessed. Chair, then the United Nations Security Council adopts on a regular basis new resolutions under Chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter, which resolutions are binding on member states and calls for measures including adoption of legislation to be undertaken by countries to combat terrorism. Next slide, please. Chair, the second factor for the necessity for promoting the bill is the compliance resulting from oversight. The United Nations Special Rapporteur on Counterterrorism and Human Rights, Chair, this is a special rapporteur that ensures that countries do not infringe on the human rights of citizens, visited South Africa from the 16th to the 27th of April 2007 upon invitation of our government. The United Nations Counterterrorism Executive Directorate paid 2 compliance visits to South Africa, both in 2008 and 2018. Chair, I can also just mention that the Counterterrorism Executive Directorate supports the Counterterrorism Committee of the UN Security Council, and it conducts dialogues with member states and embarks on country visits to assist states to identify gaps in their counterterrorism capacities. Chair, South Africa is further also a member of the Eastern and Southern African Anti-Money Laundering Group and of the Financial Action Task Force, which published a report on a mutual assessment of South Africa in October 2021. Next slide, please. The Boktatara Bill addresses the recommendations of these oversight structures I've just mentioned and the guidance given by these structures, especially from the 2018 report on the UN Counterterrorism Executive Directorate and the 2021 Mutual Assessment Report of the Eastern and Southern African Anti-Terrorism Group and the Financial Action Task Force. Next slide, please. Chair, the third factor necessitating the promotion of the bill is compliance resulting from oversight through court cases. There had only been 5 convictions in terms of the Act in respect of terrorism-related activities, and I'll quickly mention these. First one was the Tulsi twins who pleaded guilty of trying to leave South Africa to join the Islamic State in Syria. Then there were 2 members of the National Christian Resistance Movement called the Crusaders, who were plotting the murder of Black people as well as overthrowing the government. Next slide, please. Henry Oka, a citizen of Nigeria, was charged with 13 counts related to terrorism under the Act. This trial led to an unconstitutional and unsuccessful challenge of the constitutional measures in the Act to the jurisdictional provisions in the Act. But the amendments to the definition of specified offence are proposed in line with the guidance given by this Constitutional Court judgment. Next slide, please. Chair, I will now proceed to take the meeting through the main proposals to amend the Act. Clause 1 proposes the substitution, the deletion, and insertion of certain definitions in Section 1 of the Act. The repeal of the motive requirement in the definition of terrorist activity, and to delete the exclusion of liberation struggles from the definition of terrorist activity. Chair, if you allow me, I would just like to pause on this particular point and just elaborate on it. Due to our changed world and increased cyber activity and possible terrorist activities associated with cyberspace, a definition for cyber terrorism is provided for in the Boktatara Bill. The motive requirement in the definition of terrorist activity has been deleted. As I said, international instruments and the UN Security Council resolutions generally do not require a special terrorist motive, which may be very difficult and burdensome to prove, and the criminal law also does not normally require proof of motive. The deletion of the motive requirement is thus aligned with international law. Then the repeal of Section 1(4) of the Act must be understood within the context of international law and the implementation thereof in South Africa. In respect of the 2 additional protocols to the Geneva Conventions, South Africa's position currently is as follows. Protocol 1, which is the protocol relating to the protection of victims of international armed conflicts, and Protocol 2, which is the protocol relating to the protection of victims of non-international armed conflicts, were both signed by the Republic on the 8th of June 1977 and ratified by the Republic on the 21st of November 1995. These 2 additional protocols apply, amongst others, to amend conflicts in which people are fighting against colonial domination and alien occupation. The Geneva Conventions and these 2 additional protocols were incorporated in South African law by means of the implementation of the Geneva Conventions Act in 2012. Now, the implementation of this act that I just mentioned was adopted quite some time ago after the Boktatara Act was adopted in 2004. Hence, the need for the Boktatara Act to be aligned to the Geneva Conventions Act of 2012. Then, as I already mentioned, South Africa is also a member of the Financial Action Task Force, as well as of the Eastern and Southern African Anti-Money Laundering Group. Now, these oversight structures performed a mutual assessment of South Africa and published its final report in this regard in October 2021. In the report, it is amongst others stated that the Boktatara came into effect only on the 20th of May 2005, and it contains several offences related to terrorist financing. Generally, the criminalization of terrorist financing in South Africa is broadly consistent with most of the provisions of the Terrorist Financing Convention. The Boktatara, however, does exclude from the definition of terrorist activity certain acts committed during an armed struggle. The exemption therefore narrows down the scope of the Terror Financing Convention, and therefore the deletion of Section 1.4 is necessary to align the Principal Act with the international law. Next, and then we move on to Clause 2 on slide 8. Clause 2 proposes to amend Section 3 of the Act by providing for an offence in respect of entering, departing from, or transiting through, or remaining in any country for purposes of joining or supporting terrorist groups, and an offence to support an entity engaged in terrorist activities. Clause 3 proposes the insertion of Section 3A in the Principal Act, which provides for the prohibition of any publications with terrorist-related content, as well as a defence. And Chair, this amendment is also based on Section 2 and 3 of the United Kingdom Terrorist Act of 2006. Next slide, please. Clause 4 proposes the amendment of Section 4 of the Act by providing for an offence to facilitate the retention or control of property on behalf of or for the benefit of a specific entity identified by a resolution of the United Nations Security Council and announced by the Minister of Finance in terms of Section 26, capital A1 of the Financial Intelligence Centre Act, or in a notice given by the Director of the Financial Intelligence Centre in terms of Section 26, capital A3 of the Financial Intelligence Centre Act. Clause 5 seeks to insert Section 4, capital A in the Principal Act in order to provide for an offence in respect of an attempt to leave the Republic for the benefit of, at the discretion of, or in association with a terrorist group. Next slide, please. Clause 6 seeks to amend Section 5 of the Act by extending the offence related to terrorist bombings to private places. Clause 7 proposes to amend Section 6 of the Act by inserting additional offences in accordance with international law in respect of fixed platforms. Clause 9 proposes the amendment of Section 9 of the Act to provide that it will be an offence to by any other means seize or exercise control of an aircraft for the purposes listed in Section 9. Then Clause 10 proposes to amend Section 10 of the Act by providing for additional offences in accordance with Article 3 bis of the Convention for the Suppression of Unlawful Acts against the Safety of Maritime Navigation, 1988, as amended. Next slide, please. Clause 12 proposes to amend Section 12 of the Act by providing that no duty of secrecy or confidentiality or any other restriction on the disclosure of information, whether imposed by legislation or arising from the common law or agreement, affects compliance by an accountable institution, supervisory body, reporting institution as defined in the Financial Intelligence Centre Act of 1998. Clause 13 seeks to amend Section 13 of the Act by providing for an offence related to the use of false threats to intimidate the public or to divert police resources to be enabling to commission of an offence. Clause 14 seeks to simplify the language of Section 15 of the Principal Act following a Constitutional Court judgment. Chair, in this clause, I can just also indicate that this stems from the Constitutional Court matter of S versus Oka in 2018. It amplifies the jurisdictional issues of the Act. It further provides that non-citizens, persons not ordinarily resident in the Republic, or stateless persons must be advised of their rights to consular assistance from the state they ordinarily reside in or are citizens of. Next slide, please. Clause 15 seeks to amend Section 16 of the Act and provides that the prosecution for an offence under Section 13 may be authorised by the relevant Director of Public Prosecutions. Section 13 offences relate to hoaxes. Next slide, please. Clause 17 seeks to align the sentencing as laid down in Section 18 of the Principal Act with the severity of the offence, for example, the financing of terrorism. It also provides for sentences in respect of the offences listed in Sections 3 capital A3 and 4 capital A and 24 capital B 13. Clause 18 expands on the ambit of and what may be contained in a freezing order the making of ancillary orders, the publication of orders, the appointment of a curator ad litem, and interim orders. And this amendment mainly stems from the mutual assessment report of ISAM LG and of FATF. Clause 19 proposes to amend Section 24 of the Act by providing for the inclusion of premises which may be cordoned off and searched in accordance with a warrant which may be issued by a judge. Next slide, please. Clause 20 proposes the insertion of Section 24 capital B in the Act, providing that a member of the Directorate may apply to a competent court for an order to disable access to an internet or social media site with unlawful terrorism-related content. The clause also proposes the insertion of Section 24A in the Act, providing for the application for a decryption direction by an officer of the Directorate in terms of Section 21 of the Regulation of Interception of Communications and Provision of Communication-Related Information Act of 2002. Then Clause 21 proposes the repeal of Sections 25 and 26 of the Act. It is proposed in the schedule that the publication of resolutions of the United Nations Security Council related to entities linked to terrorism by notice in the Gazette should be performed by the Minister of Finance in terms of the Financial Intelligence Center Act. Chair, I can just also mention that currently in terms of Section 25, the President by proclamation in the Gazette gives notice of entities linked to terrorism. And then in terms of the current Section 26 of the Act, every such publication shall be tabled in Parliament for its consideration and decision. The effect, therefore, of this amendment in terms of Clause 21 is that the Minister of Finance will now deal with the matter. Parliament has no power to change the United Nations Security Council resolutions, and there is therefore no practical implication for this deletion on Parliament. Next slide, please. Jay, you will see slide 15 and slide 16 lists the schedule to the Act, all the relevant acts and the areas in the acts that will also be amended through this bill. And they are listed on slide 15 and also on slide 16. If we can just move to slide 17, please. Chair, in terms of the process followed thus far, the bill was published in the Government Gazette in May 2021, and interested people could provide written comments within a period of 45 days. Very few public comments were received, but I must say they contained mostly constructive proposals. For example, an exemption relating to the possession of publications with terrorism-related contents, and that is in the case of a journalist or for study purposes. Next slide, please. In conclusion, Chair, the Poktatara Bill is aimed at aligning the Act with the latest international law requirements, and it establishes crimes as defined in subsequent international instruments. The bill is also responding to the issues raised in respect of the Act following the respective compliance visits by the international oversight structures. Next slide, please. Chair, the value of the bill is to ensure that South Africa is compliant with international standards and requirements regarding the combating of terrorist activities. Such compliance is very important and necessary regarding South Africa's standing and financial ratings globally and as a tourist destination. The Act and the bill ensures that South Africa is in position to act decisively against terrorist attacks or support of terrorist activities. I thank you, Chair.
Seemingly the chair is not on the platform. Chairperson? Okay, but let's continue. If you don't mind, members, let's continue. The chairperson will find us. Can we get a summary of submissions from the public, Nicolette?
Hi, good morning, Honorable Selby, honorable members. Let me just quickly get this one going. Chair, Honorable Selby, you can see my the presentation. Yes.
Yes, I can see it.
Honorable members, like Advocate Kritzinger indicated, we received many constructive submissions from the public. The submissions were opened on the 12th of August and it closed on the 19th of August. And the committee received only 5 written submissions from the public. And this is due to the technical nature of the amendments to the bill. Honorable Chair members, we received a presentation from AfriForum, the Banking Association of South Africa, the International Committee of the Red Cross, the Sussex Terrorism and Extremism Research Network, and an individual, Mr. Nell. Chair and honorable members, the Banking Association of South Africa indicated that they would propose an amendment to the definition of property that is contained in the Act or in the amendment bill, because prior to its proposed amendments, it's already all-encompassing and would include any digital representation of perceived value, including cryptocurrency. They also requested that the definition for electronic communications service provider be clarified to indicate who is deemed to be a licensed service provider. Then the definition of entity should also be clarified and then its use throughout the amendment bill. In terms of clause 3, the insertion of the prohibition of any publication with the terrorist-related content should be amended, and members can see the more detailed clarification on this in the public submission. And then in terms of clause 12 of the amendment bill, the Banking Association feels that it creates a hierarchy in legislation. Members are moving to the Sussex Terrorism and Extremism Research Network. They are based in the UK and they are really a leader in counter-terrorism, and they will make a presentation to the committee during next week's meeting. They also indicated that the definition for terrorist activity should exclude motive, as it is difficult to prove and international instruments generally do not require a specialist or a special terrorist motive. In terms of clause 2, Stern suggested that terrorist training in itself should be an offense and not only receiving such training. And in terms of clause 3, the insertion on the prohibition of any publication with relation to terrorist content, they propose that the language be adjusted of a legitimate defense to broaden it to exercising a professional or a profession in the public interest. Honourable members, moving to the International Committee of the Red Cross, they highlighted concern about the deletion of Section 1, Sub 4 of the Principal Act in terms of armed conflict that should not be considered to be terrorism. They proposed the retention of this section in the Act, or alternatively, to include an international humanitarian law savings clause to separate the law applicable to conduct that occurs in peacetime from that occurs during armed conflict. And in terms of clause 3, the insertion of provision of any publications with the terrorist-related content might unintentionally criminalize humanitarian action in terms of their training on counter-terrorism and aspects related thereto. Honourable members, the only submission we received that's really against the bill is from AfriForum. They also expressed a concern regarding the definition of property, in that it is already all-encompassing, and the expansion of the definition will further compound the problem. In terms of clause 3, again with the insertion of the provision of publications, AfriForum submitted that it violates the right to freedom of expression, association, and conscience. In terms of clause 18, AfriForum submitted that it overextends the power of police officials and is likely to lead to complex litigation. Clause 20 has the potential for the abuse of the RICA and creates an unjustifiable violation of the right to privacy. And then in conclusion, honourable chair members, AfriForum submitted that the deletion of sections 25 and 26 from the Principal Act is an unjustifiable violation of the separation of the powers doctrine. Chair, just that is the summary of the submissions. Just as a matter of comprehensiveness, the submission we received from Mr. Nell indicated that he would like to make a oral presentation, but then he indicated that he feels uncomfortable in going ahead with this. So we're not sure if he will be joining the committee next week. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Nicolette. I still don't see the chairperson on the platform. Thanks very much for the presentation, and thanks very much for the presentation from the Secretariat. I forgot to check whether the acting secretary, do you have any addition to your presentation?
Good morning, acting chairperson. We don't have the presentation covered everything.
Okay. DM, anything before members come in?
No, we are content, Chair. I think Advocate presented our presentation well. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable Whitfield.
Much, Chairperson. Chairperson, I would just like to make a couple of introductory comments. The first being that I think the committee must note that this bill has appeared as if out of nowhere. It was never really part of the committee's priority bills on our agenda to deal with, certainly
during the course of this year. I think we must welcome the fact that the committee is dedicating so much time to legislation in this term of Parliament, but we must question why it appears to be more urgent than any other piece of legislation. It seems that it's unusual for a bill to be introduced and then within 2 months for the committee to have completed all of its work on the bill, especially given the complex and technical nature of the bill. The bill was introduced on the 19th of July, and the intention is to conclude the committee's work on the bill by the 30th of September. I'm not sure that that's a realistic timeline, given the obvious risks that, that lie ahead in considering such a complex and technical piece of legislation, also over a virtual platform, which is not ideal, to give the full attention of the committee to the technical nature of the bill. I also just want to say that, and perhaps it's a question, whether it is normal for only 7 days to be provided for public comment on a bill of this nature. The comment was made that we only received 5 submissions because of the technical nature of the bill. I would argue that the technical nature of the bill is certainly one element, but to provide comprehensive comment from all stakeholders within 7 days on such a complex piece of legislation may not have been reasonable. So is that normal practice to proceed with only 7 days notice? And perhaps the committee can share its thoughts on whether we feel that this piece of legislation is potentially being rushed if we look at the program for this term and the complex nature of the bill, as well as the excellent submissions by all stakeholders, which require our very careful consideration. Thank you, Chair.
Chairperson, Acting Chair, I'm sorry, I went to another place to get better network. So thank you for assisting me. Honorable Whitfield, we have been placing considerable pressure on the Civilian Secretariat to bring the SAPS Amendment Bill and the IPID Amendment Bill to the committee. So, because we have been delayed by the presentation of these amendment bills, we then, and the chair, then thought that it would be prudent for us to complete this amendment bill in the meantime. We have requested the House Chairperson and the Speaker permission to continue with this bill, and they have certainly given us that permission. I do recognize and acknowledge that this bill was not presented as a priority. However, I could delay this amendment bill and wait for the SAPS amendment bill or the IPID amendment bill, whilst I have no idea how long that is going to take. As I have said, I reiterate the fact that we are putting pressure on the Civilian Secretariat and the Ministry, and we have really stamped our authority as a committee and oversight body, which is responsible for legislation to ensure that this is done. The procedure is correct and legally sound. It is, as you have said, a rather technical bill. I do not think that we need to delay it any further. This has been long outstanding. It is one of those outstanding matters that I'm trying to deal with so that we do not hand it over to another administration. The bill only aligns us with the international and regional conventions and protocols. The legislation, especially on counter-terrorism has been put to us as important and critical by the cabinet, not only our minister, but the entire the peace and stability cluster. And I wish to not to force the ministers to rush it through Parliament, but to request the members to consider the bill. There was a cabinet statement on the 22nd of, or on the 22nd of June on this bill. So when it was then brought to my attention on the 22nd of June, that cabinet had stressed the importance of having this bill completed, I then thought it prudent to put it on the agenda. Cabinet went through an extensive presentation and discussions. They approved the submission, and the bill went through extensive public consultation after it was approved by Cabinet in May 2021. And the amendments seek to align our country's domestic instruments of fighting terrorism with the global measures that have been put in place. I believe that they have addressed the clauses that were deemed unconstitutional by the Constitutional Court. So there's a number of constitutional judgments against us and against the minister, not against us as a committee, but against us. And when there are constitutional judgments against the department, I deem it important for us to correct it. So as a signatory to the UN Security Council, we were then implored, South Africa was then implored, and we were considered to be duty bound to domesticate international law, and that we seek to strengthen these measures to combat global terrorism. So this was why the bill was prioritized by Cabinet, and it came from as I'm saying, the peace and stability cluster. It has no political undertones, or I'm not having any political intentions, or I'm not playing any kind of political games when it comes to this bill. As I said, it's a technical bill. Obviously, when it comes to something like the SAPS Amendment Bill and the IPIT Amendment Bill, we will not have the luxury of taking it through Cabinet at such short notice and during such a short space of time. So members, we had this Cabinet decision during the period of recess. We took all matters that we felt were presented to us, but which we were unable to deal with, including the matter of the strategic plan. We have given our inputs to the strategic plan, and that is also one of the outstanding matters. So when we do the strategic plan, I'll bring all the outstanding matters to you, and I hope that we'll be able to conclude a number of these outstanding matters, which has been before this committee for quite some time now. Honorable members, before we take further comments, could we have any comments on the process that we wish to embark on? I want to note hands. Honorable Whitfield has expressed his concern that we are rushing this amendment bill through? Do other members have similar concerns? Honorable De Blanche?
Chairperson, thank you. I listened very carefully to what was conveyed to us, and first of all, I want to echo the sentiments of my colleague, the Honorable Whitfield. You know, this is a very, very important piece of legislation, as was indicated to us, that will certainly impact on South Africa as an international role player in different, you know, fields. And I mean, you know, it's going to, and it's got the potential of having a severe impact or a possible severe impact on, you know, our, let's say, you know, what the way that people are going to perceive us globally, and obviously also our economy, you know, just to name a few things. And I must admit that I am a bit surprised and more concerned about the apparent, you know, haste or, you know, speed that, you know, that we intend driving this through the process. And I think I just want to raise my concern that, you know, I certainly don't want to be seen, you know, to support something that has the potential of not, you know, having or had, you know, our full attention to the best of our ability. And Chairperson, that is my input. You know, especially the short time that was allowed for public input. I don't think that will, you know, do justice to, you know, the importance of this legislation. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Groenewald.
Morning, Chair, everyone, and I will also just mute my video because signals are not that strong today. I don't know what's going on. Chairperson, I don't want to repeat. I think what has been said, I can also concur with. But I presume that we're going to have an opportunity where we get these people or the stakeholders and even like the Bank Association and AfriForum to come and present their views on the bill. And I just want to say that when that happens, that we must have ample time to ask questions so that we can inform ourselves very clearly on the technical aspect of their proposals. I'm a bit worried that we say, okay, we're going to have two organizations coming, making presentations, and then we don't have enough time. So I will suggest that when we get to that stage, that, for instance, if it's between 9 and 1 o'clock, that we have one of the organizations, and that we have ample time to ask exactly what do they mean by all their proposals and their complaints as far as that is concerned. So I presume it's going to happen some other time, and that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Noted, Honorable Siawi.
Thank you, Chair. I think having listened to the comments by honorable members, I must just add to say there's no malicious intention in bringing the bill before the committee for the committee to process. In fact, is what we are supposed to do as a committee. But I would suggest that with members having raised concerns, I think their concerns are mainly on the issue of time. They are not saying, I didn't hear anyone saying we should not continue processing the bill. They're just saying it seems we may not have enough time. And even because it's a technical bill, even the interest from the public is a bit limited. So I would suggest, Chair, that your office, as you continue with the processing of the bill, take what honorable members have said and see how to balance whatever process we are engaged in, take their concerns into consideration, and then see how far can we go with the bill. I think members of the committee are ready to process the bill, but they are just raising concerns here and there. So I would say your office need to look at that and see how far we can go. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Whoop, Honorable Selby, Honorable Meshu.
Thank you, Chairperson. I've been trying to think of public participation that has only been given a week, and so far could not think of any legislation that required the public to only have 7 days. We should not exclude people that might want to participate and to make inputs just because that 1 week was too short. They might have been busy with other things, because it is a very important bill that has serious repercussions if it is rushed, I think. So while we will still listen to oral inputs, if it can be permissible, maybe to add another week so that everybody is taken care of, that might ultimately put us in a safe place. Thank you, sir. Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Reverend. Honorable Majosi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you. What I wanted to say, I concur with Honorable Mishwe. I just wanted to say, maybe can we open it up for the public for a longer time, but also consider the fact that we need to have a time frame. I'm not against the fact that maybe members feel that the bill is not given enough time so that the public participation can be given time to have their views. But if we do that and we open it up with another week, then it is fine. But then we must have a time frame for everything so that we know by this time we'll be done with public participation, by this time we'll be done with so that we are able to come back and discuss the bill itself and contribute towards it. So I was alerting members on that can we at least have a time frame as well of when will be our satisfaction with the effect of public participation and everything else. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, honorable members. The chairperson has noted the concerns of the members. I think that the committee has a history of moving together and not disagreeing on matters of process. So when we are processing any form of legislation, the chair would rather like consensus, and there's no need for us to disagree once we have completed our work. It is always important to take a step back and to consider what the members have agreed on. So the members are in agreement that we should go back, do further consultation. I also wish to alert the members that we would have to incur costs. I may be accused of fruitless and wasteful expenditure, but I'm prepared to be not chastised, but to be alerted by the House Chairperson and the whip's officers. I would then indicate to them that the members wanted more time for public comments. So we're in agreement. I think the committee is in agreement that the bill should be further published for consultation. Honorable Majosi, the program was set out in, we submitted that to members when it comes to the committee program. Honorable members will put it on the committee program. We'll also highlight the program and the time frames in the next committee so that we're all in agreement with the time frames and how we are going to process the bill. As the Honorable Whip said, there's no malicious intent, there's no political agenda. As again, I would like to reiterate that this is a technical bill and one which is important for our country. We are not going to make any mistakes along the way. I would rather like us to sort out all our differences while we're still in the process of the bill and not once we have to take it to the National Assembly. When we go to the National Assembly, I'd prefer us to have a level of agreement, and I would then ask and request that our technical team looks at our dates and our timeframes again. Those dates and timeframes will be committed and presented to the whip at the at our management meeting. I have received an apology from Honorable Majosi that she has to attend the Chief Whip's forum. I have recognized your apology. Your apology is accepted, noted and accepted, Honorable Majosi. Honorable members, I think we have all been in the meeting. We have most political parties in the meeting. All our political parties. We have the DA, the ACDP, and the ANC, and the IFP in all agreeing that we require further consultation. Freedom Front Plus, are you in agreement? Dr. Groenewald, are you in agreement with that process? Dr. Groenewald? Members, can you still hear me?
Yes, Chair.
Yes,
right.
we can hear.
Yes, Groenewald gave his input and he agreed. Then EFF?
Yes, Chairperson, I agree. Let's give it some time.
We need more time. The committee needs more time. We in agreement?
Yes, Chairperson.
The decision is then taken that the committee needs more time. Thank you very much. Sorry, Honorable Groenewald, you would like to come in and then to Blanche?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. My apology, I had a problem with my laptop. Okay, now let me say this. We must also understand that it is urgent, but I don't want to have to go through the whole process again and asking public submissions or anything like that. My only request was that we have these public submissions we received, and all I ask is that when we deal with that and they come to the committee, that we have enough time for that specific meeting that we can ask the ample questions to them to get their complete view on why and how they see the technical issues. So it's not the process as such that worries me. It is just that we have enough time to ask questions for that.
Agreed. Honorable de Blanche, would you like to make one more input before I do the summary?
Chair, Chairperson, no, thank you. I'm covered. I think that the intention is that we are going to move forward responsibly, obviously keeping in mind that it is important that we get this sorted out as soon as possible. So no, thank you, I'm covered.
Honorable Whitfield.
Chairperson, thank you. I think my concerns have been noted. I still have reservations about the thoroughness of the process, but I think that I appreciate your consideration of my concerns. I think provided that the committee has sufficient time to consider all public submissions and that the committee is in fact satisfied that sufficient time was given for public submissions to be made, then we can proceed. I just wanted to get an indication, Chair, whether this legislation has been brought forward due to the imminent threat of grey listing, whether that is something that is part of the motivation. And I think that's important for us to understand if there is urgency, if that urgency is related to that imminent threat of grey listing, it would certainly sharpen our focus to attend to the legislation.
Thank you, honorable members. Could I do the following, please? I do consult with all our political parties in the committee. Could the chairperson be allowed to call all the leaders and the members of the different political parties and then discuss with us them in more detail? Because obviously there are certain concerns which we have to take into consideration, and we have a record of listening to one another irrespective of the political parties that we belong to. So, honorable members, I'm sure you will allow me to consult with you, speak to you, your political parties and members on an individual basis. We'll bring the new dates and timeframes. You are requesting basically two things. The one is that we have more time for public consultation, and the second request is that we have more time for the stakeholders to do their presentations and for the committee to engage with them. I am absolutely prepared to do that. I'll come back to you with the cost, the timeframes, and the urgency. Would that suffice? Do you approve the recommendation and the summary of the chair?
Thank you, Chair.
In order, Chair.
In order, Honorable Groenewald.
In order, Chairperson, I've put up my thumb, so it's right.
Yes, you can put up your thumb, but I want to know. Honorable Meshwe, is a thumb a sign that you also agree?
Yes, Chairperson.
All right, this is a committee who's very progressive and puts up the thumbs, and it will be recorded in that way. You do understand that when we take a poll through Parliament, we have to record the minutes very carefully. We do not want to have the same with the critical infrastructure amendments. I ensured that we followed the legal process and the process of Parliament to the letter, and we do not want to make silly mistakes. I've taken the comments and suggestions of the members into account, and will once again engage with you so that we are all on the same page. Thank you, honorable members. Honorable members, Deputy Minister, could I first give Mr. Amaru an opportunity to speak, and then the Deputy Minister?
Thanks, Honorable Chairperson. We have noted the decision of the committee, and we are happy to move along with the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll be losing a number of members by 11, so I need your comments, Honorable Deputy Minister. If so, you may do so now.
No, thanks, Chair. We note the decision, and just like the acting secretary said, we will be available to interact as and when the committee requires our involvement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Acting Secretary, to your team, and please take the committee's requests very seriously. We are waiting for the IPIT Amendment Bill and the SAPS Amendment Bill. Those bills have also, the acts have been found to be unconstitutional. We cannot be in the committee of SAPS where people are expected to enforce the law or breaking the law. So right now, if the court has ruled you and ruled us as committee to have unconstitutional acts, then it's an indictment not only on the minister and the secretariat, but it is also an indictment on the committee, and I take that responsibility quite seriously. Honourable members, could we then move on to the next item? From the staff, Nicolette and Babalwa. If you are done, I could then go to the program. Nicolette and Babalwa.
Hello, Chair.
Yes,
we've covered all the agenda items, Chairperson, for today's meeting, unless members they want to make additional agenda items, but we've covered everything was on the agenda.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, that brings me to the last two matters. I would like to congratulate Ms. Nicolette van Zyl-Gous, our researcher who has done very good research work. She has just been appointed to be our content advisor. We are joining forces, and all political parties, I'm sure, would be happy to have Ms. Nicolette van Zyl-Gous as our content advisor. Would you like to congratulate her? Members, I'm sure Nicolette deserves our congratulations. Blanche Whitfield Marekwa. Honorable Blanche.
A person to allow my colleague Whitfield to do it on our behalf. I am confident that he will do justice to that. But congratulations anyway, Nicolette, you deserve this.
Honorable Whitfield.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think that it goes without saying, but I think it's still necessary to say that congratulations to Nicolette. She is a consummate professional. She fills very big shoes left behind, and I'm confident that she will fill those shoes quite comfortably. We thank her for her continued excellent work that she produces for the committee. She is a tremendously reliable and very appreciated source of knowledge and experience for the committee. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you, Honorable Whitfield. Honorable Groenewald.
Thank you, Chair. I also want to congratulate Nicolette. I don't know whether it's a promotion in the hierarchy as far as Parliament is concerned, but I do believe so. And I want to thank Chairperson for the excellent work she did when it comes to research. I must admit that I was quite dependent on that because it was specific, it was objective, and it assisted me really in many ways, saving time and to ensure that I have all the information I need when we have some discussions or whatever the subject may or might have been on that specific research paper. I know that she will still give her all best and will be to the best benefit of the portfolio committee in her new work, and I wish her well. And I don't know who's going to be the next researcher. I hope there will one be very soon, because I can't think that we're going to expect that Nicolette must be the researcher and the content advisor, because she will have more than enough work to do in the new position. So thank you very much from my side, specifically when it is in terms of the research. And I know that she will make a success, and I wish her well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Whip.
Thank you, Chair. I also join colleagues in expressing our words of congratulations to Nicolette. I've worked with her for a very short period, but I could see that she's committed to her work and she is always available to assist where one needs assistance. I'm also confused, like Honorable about. I'm not sure whether it's a promotion or something different. But I would say on behalf of the ANC, we want to congratulate her. And I think we'll continue working with her fruitfully. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, honorable members. I am very happy that we have this opportunity from all political parties to thank Nicolette and wish her well. I've also noted the hands of Honorable Meshu.
Yes, Chairperson, I should also join my colleagues in thanking Nicolette for her diligence, for her knowledge, for her willingness to help anytime she was requested. And I, unlike what some of my colleagues have said, I choose to believe that it is a promotion which is well deserved. So Nicolette, we expect your input as a content advisor to take us to another level and bring in more understanding to some of the delicate matters that we have to discuss. So thank you very much for who you are and for your diligence and commitment.
Thank you, Honorable Meshu. That and we'd like the EFF to express their gratitude. Shembeni, Honorable Shembeni, you the iPad man.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairperson. I'd just like to say congratulations to the Imbogoto. And that shows that South Africa is growing. We're going forward when we're having women leading from the front. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, honorable members. Honorable members, the good news is that Nicolette has been in this committee for a very long time, and having that continuity is important for us as a committee. Nicolette has been extremely helpful. She's been in this committee for 10 years. That's quite a long time. The institutional memory that Nicolette has served us well. I don't think there's any political party which could say that Nicolette has been partisan and that she has a particular political agenda. Nicolette is professional. We thank her for her dedication, her patience. Honorable members, to be honest with you, I will never ever enter a meeting or chair a meeting without reading the research paper of Nicolette. Nicolette, you've also, if I needed additional information, you've been extremely willing. Sometimes I call you at night, you're still willing to give me that information, refer me to documents, give me historical perspective. And as a chairperson, I've relied quite substantially on your wealth of knowledge. Honorable members, now Nicolette is no longer the acting content advisor. She is now the content advisor, but she's now the acting researcher. So she switched roles. Nicolette, thanks for doing such a sterling job. Your work is really being tremendous. It's just amazing that you're able to be the content advisor and the researcher. We do not like that situation to last too long. I hope that we could also speed up the process of appointing a researcher. Members, I would then move to the next item, which is the Joint Portfolio Committee requested by Mineral Resources. Could I also, with your permission, refer this matter to the Management Committee? And when I do call you on the amendment bill, I'll also then consult with you on your views before I take this to the Management Committee. Honorable members, would you be happy that I take this to the Management Committee and that I call you for consultation? Honorable Shembeni, is this an old hand? Honorable members.
Yes, it's an old hand. I'll know it. Thank you.
All right. Do you agree that I consult with you on this matter and that I take it to the Management Committee?
Yes, Chair.
Honorable Whitfield, agreed?
Thank you, Jaap.
Groenewald also, are you happy you're still here? De Blanche agrees? Honorable Groenewald and Majosi, do you agree that I consult with you?
Agreed, Chair Shembeni.
Agreed. Agreed. Honorable members, I'll be calling you we are responding to questions we are asking questions in the House today. So as soon as I have an opportunity, I'll be calling all of you. Thank you very much, honorable members. If you have no further questions or comments, thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. Thank you very much to the entire staff. Please, Mr. Amaru, convey our sincere appreciation to your staff. I do know that I'm putting tremendous pressure on you, but we have a responsibility, a constitutional responsibility, to respond to any matter, particularly when it comes from the Constitutional Court. And we'll continue then working with you to ensure that we process these bills. Honorable members, that brings us to the end of business for today. The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Good luck for the House. Thank you,
Thank you,
dear.
Chairperson. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Chair.
Thank you,
Chairperson.
Meshu. Thank you, De Blanche. Good luck with your questions. Thank you, Shembeni. Thank you. Good luck with your questions. We are done.
Recording stop.